Stickmen and smiley faces are the best that you can do, yet you've always appreciated beautiful artwork and architecture, then stick around for today's episode as we describe the amazing paintings, sculptures, and building designs found throughout the land of Israel. Welcome to the Shalom Y'all Ministries podcast. I'm your co-host, Adam Keim, along with my dear friend, Dr. Daniel McCabe. Daniel, how are you doing so far in this new year?
Well, I think the word of the new year has to be
Oh, yes.
cold or snow or something like that. I don't think we've got what you did. How is it there in Texas?
Oh, it's good. We didn't actually get any snow in
Okay.
my area. I mean, the state of Texas got, snow in some pretty wild places, Houston and
Yes.
Galveston and all that. But where we are in Stephenville, nothing really, which was a bit disappointing. We were hoping for something so the
Aw.
kids could play around in it.
Sure.
We saw a few flakes drifting down. There was one night where we had just the slightest dusting, but strangely enough, it melted by morning, even though the temperature never rose above 32. It somehow melted. So it was gone the next morning, but the kids
Aw.
did get a couple days off of school, and that's really all they care about.
That's probably true. Yes.
Yes. Well, we here at Shalom Y'all truly believe that a walk through the land deepens your walk with the Lord. Our mission is to teach and encourage those who love the Bible, the land of the Bible, and the people of the land. We hope that we can tour the Holy Land with you, our listeners, someday. Please reach out for more information on how that could be possible for you or your group when the time is right. As usual, we will begin with a couple of mini topics before our main subject matter of the art and architecture of Israel. So, Daniel, what do you have to lead off for us today?
Adam, are you a soccer fan?
I do enjoy the sport. Yes, I'm not like a big fanatic or anything like that, but I enjoy soccer.
I got to admit, I really didn't know much at all about soccer, really until one of our staff members there in Texas, when I was there with you, one of our staff members, Chris Whaley, started watching or loves soccer, and I started kind of paying attention to conversations with him, and he got me sort of to pay attention a little bit more to it, and started watching some World Cup. And I'm not into it like others are, perhaps, but I've paid a little bit more attention. And so when I saw this little history note related to soccer, I kind of gravitated towards it. It's history and soccer all wrapped up into one little mini topic here. But from 1917, which was in the middle of World War I, nearing the end of it, from 1917 until 1948, which is 3 years, of course, following World War II, the general region known today as Israel and the West Bank, it was known to the world then as British Palestine or Mandatory Palestine. And the Brits introduced soccer to the population of Palestine during their 31 years there in the land. And the Palestinians, as the people of the land were called then, soon organized their own national football team. Of course, we're talking about soccer again. Now, initially, the team represented a diverse group of athletes. There were Jews, there were Arabs, there were different backgrounds. Peoples were mixed together in a unique diversity, but political tensions, began to prompt all the Arabs to feel squeezed, and so they split from the national team in 1934. And then following that split, it was only Jewish players, both on the field and I guess administrative folks as well. I found it interesting, just as a side note, that when they would play their games from that point on, whenever they would have international games, and they did have international games against the Egyptians and the Greeks and the Lebanese, but they would play three national anthems. They would play "God Save the Queen," which of course kind of fits the Brits, of course. And they play the Hope or Hatikva. It was going to turn out to become the future national anthem of Israel. And then, of course, the opponent's anthem. And I just found that interesting. But, you can find pictures online of the Palestinian team, as they still called themselves. And there are pictures of them in their 1938 and 39 uniforms in particular. And right there on the front of their uniforms is the Star of David. So they are the
Mm.
Palestinians, the Palestinian team with the Star of David, entirely made up of Jewish players. You can, again, find a video. I found one showing some highlights of a 1939 match between, again, Palestine and Australia on the Sydney cricket ground that Palestine, again, all Jews, lost 7-5. And then, I'm reading in a book last night that dates to like the early 50s. It was about some old book written by a guy named Merle Unger, written about the archaeology of the land of Israel. And this is after, of course, the creation of the nation or the state of Israel in 1948, and he's referring to Palestinian archaeology. So it's interesting to me, and this is a great example from soccer, of course, that the Palestinians or the Israelis considered themselves Palestinians until
Mm.
their founding in 1948. And if you like some soccer, there's some interesting videos online. You can go back and watch their techniques um, if you're knowledgeable of the sport. You'll kind of look at the video, even like I did, not knowing a whole lot, and thinking, yeah, I think soccer's come a long way since then.
Wow, that's pretty cool. The Palestinian team, Star David. Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yep.
Well, Daniel, you're going to handle the main topic today. So for
Okay.
my mini topic, I will also tell you a little bit about the art that I have appreciated at one particular location in Israel. Now, I've seen a lot of beautiful art throughout the country. Much of it was made by God Himself in nature, of course. I think of places like the Sea of Galilee, the unique wonder of the Dead Sea area, the wildlife of the Hula Valley, and other beautiful forests, deserts, mountains, and more. But I've also seen many great works of human art in several churches, for example, and other places. One that I think of often is a more recent construction, that of the church in Magdala on the western shore of the Sea of Galilee. Now, Magdala is an ancient fishing village, traditionally the hometown of Mary Magdalene, but a church there was built recently in 2014 called the Duc in Altum, which is a Latin phrase taken from Luke 5:4, when Jesus told Peter to put out into the deep. That was to cast his fishing net into the deep water in order to catch a surprising number of fish, after, of course, Peter caught nothing all night long. The architecture of the church itself is pretty impressive, but it's not overstated. It's a beautiful building, but it's not extravagant or anything like that. But there are three areas within the church that stick out to me. First, you walk into what is known as the women's atrium, which commemorates women of faith throughout the ages. And 7 pillars in that large room bear the names of women in Jesus' ministry, with an 8th pillar left blank to symbolize all women of faith, which of course includes some of our own listeners, wonderful women of the faith. In that room, it's a lot of fun to sing under the atrium because the domed roof does wonders to the acoustics as the sound just reverberates all around you. I remember one trip in particular, we were there. We had some really great singers in our group. One of them he was a tall guy with this big, deep voice. And I think the song on that trip in particular, we sang in many different places throughout the country. That one, I think we sang How Great Thou Art.
Yeah. Love
And
that one.
it's the kind of room where, if you're standing on one side and somebody's on the other whispering, you can kind of hear it because the sound is bouncing off the dome and all that. But just that wonderful hymn with his big deep voice leading us all, it was amazing because
Mm.
you feel like you're in the middle of sound itself. And what a wonderful way to praise the Lord in the women's atrium at the church Duke in Altum. But that's just one of 3 areas of the church that I love and is memorable to me. So that art is kind of the architectural wonder of the building. But you can walk from the women's atrium into a sanctuary of sorts, which would kind of remind you of a modern, light, and airy church building. And you've now entered the boat chapel, named such because the pulpit is in fact in the shape of an old fishing boat. And Daniel, you've been there. You remember looking at this,
Yeah,
maybe
it's
standing in the boat, right?
fantastic. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic.
It's beautiful. And if you sit on one of the benches as if you were kind of a normal church member, waiting for the sermon to start, and you look up at the boat pulpit, you see the waters of Galilee beyond the large glass wall behind the boat, and your eye level is such that it looks like the boat is floating on the sea, just like Peter's boat did 2,000 years ago.
Hmm.
Now, that environment is artistic enough, but look around the room and you will see banners of all 12 original apostles. And what's kind of interesting to me, I found this kind of funny. I think I've mentioned it on the podcast before, but 11 of them have a feature that the 12th one does not. It's a halo. The only apostle in the banners without a halo is none other than Judas Iscariot, of course, who was not saved and not redeemed from his sins. So, the artist did not depict him with a halo, but he was one of the original 12 apostles that was there during Jesus's ministry, and so that's why they have him represented on the banners there. But that boat chapel it's just beautiful. The light pours in through the windows, the sea in the background, and it's wonderful. And I've never attended any sort of, probably mass is what they do there, any sort of service, but it's really cool. Now, the piece of art in the Duke of Altum that is most significant to me in the entire church is found in the basement. It's underneath the boat chapel, and it's a room called the Encounter Chapel. When you walk into this room, you come face to face with a large mural on the back wall that always takes my breath. The painting captures a busy street scene in biblical times, but only the people's feet. So you see many different feet. There are individuals in sandals and Roman boots, and in the middle of the mural, you see one notable person's feet, that of Jesus. It's obviously supposed to be Jesus's feet. And what is remarkably different than everyone else's feet is there's a lone hand reaching out from among the crowd to touch Jesus. You see, the town of Magdala is a possible location of a certain miracle, one that I must confess to tearing up every time I read it. It's one of a few passages in the Gospels that always has this effect on me. Every synoptic gospel records the woman with an issue of blood. She bled for 12 years with no relief, and she only got worse as she spent everything she had on desperate help from local physicians. Her impressive faith and humility brought her to Jesus, and he healed her with great power and compassion. The mural in that Encounter Chapel captures this moment well, and that alone is worth your time to make a visit to the Duke and Altum in Magdala. So that's just a little flavor of the art there in that new building. It's not ancient from biblical times or anything like that, but it's a great place to just help you think about various aspects of the ministry of Jesus, told through art.
I think you chose a really good example there, Adam. It is a beautiful picture, the encounter in particular that you're mentioning, and I've actually written on it in one of our posts in the past. But it's gorgeous. Definitely a must see. Even if you just look at the picture online, it's just fascinating to stare at.
Yeah. You can just Google Church in Magdala or Duke in Altum if you can kind of figure out how to spell the
Or just
Latin
the
phrase
encounter.
there.
It'll come up, I think, as the
Yep.
encounter, the encounter Magdala, and up will
Yeah.
pop the picture most likely.
Yep. It's a lot of fun just looking at it and bringing back memories of being there.
Mm-hmm.
So, Daniel, what is this month's trivia question?
Okay, well, this is going to take us from Magdala to Jerusalem, and we're going to be just outside the old city of Jerusalem, a 10-minute walk from the city. and that's an area that you've been around. But I'm going to ask you about a street that you've probably never been on,
Hmm.
although it's right near where you've been many, many times. So, what street, just as I said, only 10 minutes walk from the old city of Jerusalem, what street is named for a British novelist
Hmm.
whose very last novel, championed the hope of a Jewish state? Okay,
Wow.
so what street, only a 10-minute walk from the old city of Jerusalem, is named for a British novelist whose last novel championed the hope of a Jewish state? Is it Charles Dickens Street, George Eliot Street, Thomas Hardy Street, or Henry James Street? I've been trying to give these answers to you consistently in alphabetical order so that you can't predict any way that I might be presenting them to
I
you. But
can't psychoanalyze how you're
Yeah,
presenting the options to me this time.
exactly. So Charles Dickens Street, George Eliot Street, Thomas Hardy Street, or Henry James Street. Stick around. We'll have the answer for you later in the podcast. Well, we want to take some time to dig a little deeper on the art and architecture now of the land of Israel. And as I mentioned earlier, Adam shared a great example when he mentions the church of Magdala that he said so well there in the Latin. You're getting good at the Latin there, Adam.
Yeah.
But there's some other ones that I've written about recently, and I'm actually doing a little bit of a series now on them. I'm going to be picking 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different specific pieces of art or architecture, and they'll come out on our Facebook page on Sunday, and a couple of them have already appeared, I think, which I don't usually like to do that. I like our podcast listeners to be the first ones to hear anything, and then I'll usually touch on it then following that on our Facebook page. But that's a way to remind folks too to check us out on Facebook at Shalom Y'all Ministries Facebook page. But here's this one example, but I'm going to just kind of introduce it this way. I don't know if you have some experience in art appreciation, Adam. I've never taken a course on it. I'm not. I must confess, I like certain things. Certain things strike me, certain buildings, certain paintings, as we're going to be discussing today, but I'm not really an expert on it. And there's some things that don't really impress me. Like I was thinking through this, and I was like, well, I don't know if you've ever seen Andy Warhol's Campbell's soup cans.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Again, that's not really ever done anything for me. And
That's made me hungry for some
yeah,
tomato soups. Really.
yeah. And then there's Edvard Munch's The Scream. You may
Mhm.
recognize that one, or Salvador Dali's The Lobster Telephone. There's lots of funny. Uh, I don't know. They're beautiful, I guess, in their own way. They're quaint in another way. It just depends on what you like. But I'm just not really into a lot. But on the other hand, my brother once owned an art gallery in Tulsa, and it was a Thomas Kincaid art gallery, and
Mm.
so many of the things he's done are really good. And one of my favorites of his is the Forest Chapel, if you're into Thomas Kincaid. And then I do like Andrew Wyeth's Christina's World, but um, my art background doesn't go very deep. But there I was in the summer of 2023 with one of our groups, and I'm standing at the intersection. I don't know if I can say this and do it justice. Have you studied French?
I haven't studied French.
Can you say a little French? How? So I know from the novel Les Miserables that les is, you'd say lay,
Lay.
lay, and then Freres. I want to say, freres, like in Spanish, but I don't think that's how it would be said in French. Freres. Les Freres, or however you might say it in French. You might have to help me out there.
I
But
would guess the S is silent at the end, so les frères, but
okay,
I don't
maybe
know.
so.
Our
All
listeners
right,
who
yeah.
have some French experience are
Yeah,
probably yelling at us
exactly.
right
Let
now.
us know.
I
But
don't know. I know Brett
it's
Favre,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's
Okay,
not
yeah,
Favre, but it's
yeah,
Favre,
right.
so I know that
But
much.
it's French for the brothers,
Hmm.
is what it means. And you've walked that street a number of times, no doubt. But it's near the intersection of the Brothers Street, Les Frères, we can say, and the Newgate Street. Now, most casual visitors to Jerusalem at least are familiar with the new gate. It's on the northwest corner of the old city of Jerusalem. And if you walk in that gate and you walk down a couple minutes walk, you come to an intersection, and that's the Brothers Street.
Mhm.
And if you kind of sort of wander around at that intersection, you're gonna see, a manhole cover. And I remember when I first saw it, I didn't know what it meant, so I kinda had to get some help, but you're looking at a manhole cover, and yet first you won't know what you're looking at. It's got some artistic design on it that you've never seen before that looks like a hand, and it turns out it is. It's
Hmm.
the imprint of, the artist's left hand. I say that very carefully, but yes, an artist made an imprint on a manhole cover there at that intersection. It's quite interesting to see, and then, of course, your first instinct when you see this imprint of the left hand of someone you obviously you don't know, and turns out it is the artist, you wanna know, well, where's the what? What do you wanna know next?
It's where's the right hand?
Where
Where's the other
where's the
one?
right hand?
What
Yeah.
happened?
Well, I didn't know either, and so, I heard it was, somewhere off of Jaffa Road near Zion Square, and
Hmm.
somebody told me that, and so I'm standing outside a money changer's business, and our folks are getting their money changed, and I look down because I had been looking down in manhole covers for a while now, right?
Mhm.
And there on the top of this manhole cover is the right hand.
Wow, you just happened to
And
stumble
I
upon it, huh?
stumbled across it, I absolutely did, I couldn't believe it, and the hands symbolize unity. It's like one hand is in East Jerusalem, one hand is in West Jerusalem. It's about bringing the people together, living as one, Jewish
Hmm.
rabbis, Christian priests, Muslim imams. Let's all live together and share a unity. And, I when I posted this on Facebook, I didn't get a lot of people who liked it, but I thought it was fascinating. So, anyway, I mean, how can you make art out of manhole covers? But yet yeah, he did. So I
Well,
don't
you
know if
can
you've
tape
ever.
bananas to walls and sell it for millions of dollars nowadays.
Yeah, you can make, Campbell soup cans on,
Yep.
canvas, right? So, and then another picture or another, site that I think I posted recently on was the Cords Bridge. Have you heard of it?
I have.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I hadn't, until somebody brought it to my attention. I think this is back in 2019. I went on a trip with, of course, you and I are both on the board of Shalom Y'all Ministries, and, Richard and his wife, Gigi, is on our board, and he's a great man of God, and what a good friend, and his
Mhm.
wife said to me on the trip that we were going on, she was coming with us, and she said I said, "Anything you wanna see?" She says, "Yeah, I wanna see the Cords Bridge."
Hmm.
I said, "The Cords Bridge?" "Yeah." Okay, well, then I had to figure out what the Cords Bridge is, and it's literally a bridge over a pretty busy, jumbled intersection at the northwest gateway into Jerusalem, and I think it was designed, primarily to welcome people who are entering Jerusalem from that direction, but also to take the light rail bridge across that busy, heavily trafficked intersection.
Yep.
So it's a bridge, but it's two tracked. It's 469 feet long, and yet, yeah, of course, the tram goes across it, but there's also a glass-sided pedestrian walkway that goes across it too, and so you can walk across that bridge, and you're well protected from the tram when it goes flying by you, the Jerusalem's Red Line. But it's really fascinating. It cost an enormous amount of money when they first built it. I don't even remember. Maybe back in the well, I don't even wanna guess. I had that in my head at one point, and I've lost it, but it's very unique. I think Time Magazine called it Jerusalem's first shrine of modern design
Hmm.
because it is very unique. To some people, it looks like a tent in the desert. Some people, it looks like the mast of a ship or an arrow caught in a bow. But when I look at it, and I think most other people tend to think that it looks like a harp,
Hmm.
King David's harp, maybe to be precise. When you see it, what do you see?
I haven't been up close to it. I haven't visited it. I've seen it
Okay,
somewhat from a distance when we're
I,
driving
I
around the city
gotcha.
because it's not near the old city. It's like
No, it's not.
you said, northwest of it in more the modern area. So I haven't been up to it close.
Okay, it's up near the it's just a short walk. I mean, a couple of minutes walk from Jerusalem's train station and Jerusalem's bus station, central bus station. So it's not far from a lot of tourists and stuff, and you can get off the train, or if you're trying to catch a bus somewhere there next time you're in Israel or in Jerusalem, you can just take a little side trip just 2 minutes north of there, and you'll see it. But its claim to fame is, of course, it's trying to welcome tourists, but the locals love it too. And every night they have this, major light show. It's my understanding. I don't stop haven't stopped by there every night enough to see it, but that's what I've read. And they've got these amazing lights that are tied to what are 66 cables, and they can computer generate beautiful pictures and flashy displays of color. I've seen the Israeli flag on it, and I've seen the Druze flag on it. And there's other sites that you can do that can generate pretty much anything. And it's quite interesting. It's a quite interesting architectural, uh, well, at a great cost. It's
Hmm.
beautiful, but it's a tremendous cost to the city. But it's very unique, but very well done. So I found that interesting. Um, how about this one? Adam, I'm embarrassed to say this. I've been to Israel way too many times to be able to have to admit what I'm about to admit to you and our viewers.
Uh-oh.
You ready?
Uh-oh.
In all the times I've been to Israel, I
I
have
know that you've never had coffee yet in Israel. That's
yeah.
the problem. That's what I think you're bracing me for.
Well, that's true. I haven't had coffee in a
My
lot of
favorite coffee
places.
shops in Jerusalem. I got to take you to them,
Yeah,
and you're not going to drink coffee. Okay, all
I
right.
know, I know, but it's bigger than that, and
Yeah,
that's why I need to prepare you for it. I hope you are sitting down, but
I'm sitting down right now.
I've never been to the Israel Museum.
Come on,
I
Daniel.
haven't. I haven't. Now,
No.
yes, I actually, well, I actually planned to go one time,
Mm,
but
no.
then it was going to be like the first day of our trip to Israel, and this was I think this was back in, I think that might have been the 2019 trip. And I had scheduled like the very first day we were going to go to the Israel Museum. And then our flight got delayed in Chicago, and I missed the first day. So I had to
Mm,
cut that out of our itinerary. But
Daniel.
I've seen so many pictures of it, and I know you've been there several
Yes, it's
times.
one of the. It's a must stop. You
Okay.
have to
So
be there.
I know, I know, I
Uh,
know. That's why I almost feel like I need to apologize to you and to our Israel lovers for not having been there. But I got to ask you, if have you ever seen the apple core at
oh
the Israel
yes,
Museum? You
yeah.
have? Okay. All right. So I've only read about it, but apparently it's almost 10 feet tall. It's in what they call, I guess, the Jerusalem Garden of Art. So it's
Yep.
outside on a little patio area of some sorts. Can you give more of a context for our listeners than I can
Yeah, you
give?
walk into the main entrance of the museum, and
Okay.
then you kind of go a little way, and yeah, you step. The museum is different buildings. It's a series of buildings, right?
Mhm.
And so the main entrance, you kind of go out the back doorway, whatever, into this big courtyard that are flanked by other buildings, and then uh, the second temple city model is there off to your. You take a right and go further down. The
Mhm.
shrine of the book is close by off to your right. But then if you keep going straight ahead of you as you've exited the first building, you walk down a long courtyard, and you can see the apple core off in the distance. You're like, what is that? Why is there a giant apple there? What's going on?
Yeah.
But you're going to tell us about it.
I will tell
But
you a little bit more.
as you walk towards it, there's other buildings with other historical artifacts there as well.
Well, it was produced by Klaus Oldenburg, and I gotta get my German going here now too. I think he's German, I'm not sure. And Koshe van Bruggen. Both of those sound German, don't they?
Yeah, bless you.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
And
very
and
good.
to together, these artists, they're well known for their more than 40 oversized works. So this one's 10 feet tall. I haven't researched enough to know how big they've made them, but they've made them all around the world. There's some in Asia and Europe, the US. And apparently they like to depict everyday things, and so they
Hmm.
made an apple core. They've made an ice cream cone and a baked potato, I read. I don't know if you know more than that, but, the apple core, apparently it comports very well with Oldenburg's fascination with decline and
Okay. Yeah.
death.
Yeah, because the apple core, it looks like a rotten apple core.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's made of a steel core, if we can say that, right? And then a polyurethane
Why not?
enamel, and it's been there. He completed it, I think, in 1992. And obviously, for us, and those in the Jewish culture, the forbidden fruit
Hmm.
motif immediately comes rushing to mind, and it's very unique. And it's a little bit, I don't know how to describe it. It's maybe a little. I don't know if you want to say beautiful,
Well,
but yet
it's
it's kind of hard to look away from it.
it's yeah, it's beauty in its ugliness or something. I
Yeah.
mean, it's
Yeah, it's
wretched to look at, and I don't mean that as an insult to the artists. It's just
right,
it's a rotten, wretched,
right,
giant apple core, and you're like,
right,
what? Why is this here? But it has a beauty to it, especially if it's supposed to represent decline and all that. You get that, and it's well done.
right.
It's a piece of art. There's no doubt. I couldn't do it.
And it looks
You
like
know,
kids can climb up on it and stuff too.
you could, yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know if you're supposed to or not,
Yeah,
but
I don't know if you're supposed to, but if you put them out in the garden like that and it's as low to the ground it is,
kids
there's
will.
gotta
Oh
be
yeah,
kids that have
definitely, kids
jumped
will
up
be
on
on
that,
it
of
for
course,
sure. And
right?
you could do it safely and easily. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's steel, so it's gonna hold you, but if nothing else, it stirs up the memory so long ago of, Adam and Eve and how, you can't when I look at the pictures online of the apple core, I just can't stop looking at it. It's just kinda unique, and then, of
Hmm.
course, Adam and Eve, they clearly weren't able to look away from the fruit, whatever it might have been.
Hmm.
I think it was, Middle Ages before apple became, kinda sort of the go-to for what that forbidden fruit would
Yeah.
have been, but it's just intriguing. So,
Hmm.
and then there is one, Russian-born artist who's very well known throughout Israel. His name is Mark Chagall, and he's produced, some beautiful windows in, in a hospital chapel on the west side of Israel, and these Hagal windows, as they're called, they are absolutely stunning, and this is what my friend Gigi ultimately wanted to see. Um, well, she did want the cord bridge, but the one site she wanted to go visit, artistic site, she said, was the Hagal windows, and that was also scheduled that first day. And she and her husband, they were on a different flight, so they were able to see the Israel Museum and the Hagal windows, and I didn't. But you can look them up online. Chagall, Mark Hagal. He spells Mark with a C on the end, but Mark Hagal, beautiful stained glass windows in this, hospital chapel, and they represent the 12 tribes of Israel, and they take the motifs from Genesis 49 and Deuteronomy 39. They're like 11 feet high and 8 feet wide, so they're grand, very spectacular, full of colors, and they sort of capture that time in history when Jacob blessed his sons and the tribes of Israel.
Hmm.
And I've written on those in the past too, although it's been almost, three years since I think I've written anything on them, but they are
Hmm.
absolutely beautiful. Have you seen them?
Don't think so.
But you know of what I speak, maybe, or not?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of the Chagall tapestries
Okay.
and the windows and stuff, but no, I
Yeah.
haven't.
Okay, well, the Chagall windows are, again, they're on the hospital on the west side, Ein Kerem, and then the tapestries are something very different. And, if you're Archie, you might know the word triptych. I think I said that right,
Mm-hmm.
triptych?
A triptych.
Okay. I didn't really know that word until recently, but, apparently a triptych is like 3 separate pictures that are displayed together to represent a unifying picture or a unifying theme. And Marc Chagall completed these tapestries in 1968, and they're on display now in a reception hall at the Knesset, which is Israel's
Hmm.
parliament building. They're very colorful. They stand 16 feet tall, so they're taller than the windows. They're taller than the apple core. They're quite extensive. They measure, at least the side tapestries. There's two side ones, of course, in the middle, and the side tapestries are 18 feet in length, and then the center tapestry is 30 feet in length. And they're a mix of biblical scenes and modern history and future hopes. And now, when you stand before them, if you look at them online, and many of our viewers may want to do that, don't forget to look from right to left when you look at them.
Hmm.
Why would I tell our readers to do that, Adam?
I
Right
would
to left.
figure because Hebrew speaking people are used to reading
Yeah,
from the right to left. So that's just kind of how their
exactly.
eye flows as they take things in.
And yep, and that's how they're going to draw their art too, and that's what they do. So look at the picture on the right. It's called the Vision of Isaiah. It captures the scene from Isaiah 11, where the wolf lies down with the lamb, and the lions with the ox, and the child near the cobra, and it's kind of picks up too on the theme of the Israelites' return from Egypt as well. So those two themes are there, and then the latter, the return of the Israelites, is the main theme of the central tapestry, which is called the Exodus. And you'll see, of course, the dominant figure is Moses, but King David is very prevalent there, very central. Moses is pictured with the law. He's pictured also as a young shepherd and as the one who led the people out of Egypt. But interestingly enough, when he's leading them out of Egypt, he's following a child because the Bible
Hmm.
says that a child will lead them.
Hmm.
That's the kind of a mixture of the old history of the Exodus and the future descriptions, uh, at least future to Moses' day. And then, of course, David's there too. Like I said, he holds a harp in one representation and the head of Goliath in another. So it's kind of a beautiful tapestry of history. But there's other things there. There's a cloud of God's presence connected to Exodus, and an angel blowing his shofar, which is a ram's horn. And there's a bride, which is probably linked to passages perhaps like Jeremiah 33:10 through 11, where, you know, well, that's a theme both in the Old Testament and New Testament. The bride, we are the bride to the Lord. And there's image, interestingly enough, of a slain man. And it's not hard to figure out what's going on here, but there's a man who's dressed in more modern clothing. He's clearly been killed, and he's surrounded by 6 candles. And most people understand that immediately to represent the 6 million Jews who were killed in the Holocaust. And there's large crowds of people. There's some that seem to be returning to Israel from the countries of the Middle East because they're pictured by palm trees and a camel. And then there's another crowd of people that are coming from the right, and they appear to be coming from Eastern Europe because of their way they're dressed. And there's burning homes in the background. So kind of a mix of past and present, the
Hmm.
Exodus and the modern return all together. And then that one, just kind of like the first one, spilled over to the center one. The center one, the Exodus, spills over to the last one, which is either called, I've seen two names for it, the entrance to Jerusalem, or also the return to Zion. And this last tapestry on the left, it also includes some representation of King David and in the Israel's modern founding. You're going to see like the Ark of the Covenant being carried in Jerusalem in 2 Samuel, but you're also going to see modern depictions like early Jewish pioneers and Hasidic Jews and an armed soldier near the flag of Israel and the state emblem of Israel. And then at the top of the picture, you'll see the heavenly Jerusalem, and it it's very unique and yet so very beautiful. But when I see it, it reminds me of the promise in Revelation 22:20 that that the Lord is coming, and you can hear John's words say, "Even so, come, Lord Jesus."
Hmm. Yes.
So, um, there's some other works of art that I've kind of poked around with. I'm going to write a little bit here in the future on the pomegranates in Safed. Safed is a city in the northern part of Galilee, and yeah, it's a picture by Nahum Gutman, and he has his own museum in Tel Aviv. So a very well known name in Israeli art, and he produced. I quite like it. It's a 1937 painting of pomegranates, and the background is of the very quaint village of Safed. At least it was pretty quaint back in 1937, and I love it for the pomegranates. The beauty of the picture, of course, it also dovetails with the prominence of pomegranates in the Bible. There's lots of ways they show up, like when Moses described the promised land as a good land in Deuteronomy 8:7. In the next verse, he describes 7 particular food items that they're going to find there, and one of them is pomegranates. So the historically the land of Israel is defined in large part by its pomegranates, and in modern times, modern Israelis, Jews, they eat pomegranates on Rosh Hashanah, which is their new year, and it's kind of like their hope that the upcoming year is going to bring blessing and prosperity. And there's just some other fun things about them. I don't know if you want to jump in here if anything comes to mind, but I've I love that. Some scholars actually believe that Adam and Eve ate a pomegranate in the Garden of
Mm-hmm.
Eden.
Yeah.
That it was the pomegranate that was the forbidden fruit. And then I did a post, I don't know, a year or two ago with my youngest son, because it's always been said, some of the rabbis have said even that if you cut open a pomegranate, there's always going to be 613
Oh
seeds,
well, yeah. So,
right? Because of the 613 commandments of the law.
yeah.
So my son Luke and I, we cut one open and we counted them. And you know how many we got? We got more than six. We got
More.
733. And I
Wow.
think I think I read online, I don't know how accurate this is, but I saw as I'm poking around, somebody said that you can get anywhere from 200 to 1,200 seeds. So no, there's not
Wow.
613 seeds in every pomegranate, but you see them everywhere. Where like they're on the decorative hem of the high priest's robe
Yep.
in Exodus 28:33. They're woven there in blue and purple and scarlet, so very pretty. And tradition teaches that Solomon even patterned his crown after the pomegranate. So, I've never had a pomegranate from Safed, but I
Hmm.
have enjoyed many a cold glass of pomegranate juice from the fruit vendors there in Jerusalem and other places, and maybe our listeners will take a shot at trying some pomegranate juice, or maybe even opening a pomegranate, cutting it open, and let the seeds get cold before you eat them. That's my advice. And I don't, Adam, I don't know if you're on team pomegranate or not, like I am, but
I've never been a
I
big
love them.
pomegranate guy. Like
Oh,
I can
okay.
do it. I don't seek it out. But I have had some, yeah, the pomegranate juice from the street vendors though. That's very refreshing on a nice hot day.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. We got time for, a little more? Or
Sure, let's do one more if you got it.
okay. Um, Recently, I found a picture, by a very well-known, guy that's, you're gonna know the name immediately. His name is Vincent van Gogh, right? And
Yeah, of course, yeah.
he produced a picture that's called The Shepherdess, and it captures I don't know. I haven't done enough research, I guess, to know exactly, or maybe we don't even know what he's trying to picture, but it's definitely a very pastoral scene, and there's a picture of a woman in it. It's hard to tell from his design her age. It looks like she's older, but she's in very, very common dress, and it just struck me as very representative of what life would have been like. Maybe not so much these days, but back in the day. But there are even places, in Israel today, the Bedouins live very much like this picture would might represent, and other places in Israel still today. But certainly historically, it would have been a beautiful picture of pastoral life. So I'm poking around, and I thought, huh, wait, I think I remember this. So I should have asked this as a trivia question too, perhaps, but I don't know if it's just my translation, but there's only one place in the translation that I used, only one place where the word shepherdess is used to describe a woman in the Bible. Do you know who that might be?
Shepherdess.
Yeah, it's a tough question, so I don't expect you to go, "Yes, I know that, Daniel," but
The
only
closest
one
thing that would
place.
come, I don't think I'm right on this, but is Deborah? No, Deborah describes herself as a mother in Israel. I don't know if she
Yeah,
describes herself as a shepherdess.
no, it's not Deborah. I gotta take you back to Genesis.
Oh, is it Rebecca?
You're really close. It's not Rebecca, but it's another R. It's
It's Rachel.
Rachel.
It is
Yeah.
Rachel. Wow.
So in Genesis 29:9, it refers to Rachel. It says, "Now while he was still speaking with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep,
Yes.
for
Yep.
she was a shepherdess."
Yes.
And it's just a very simple painting, but maybe my lack of art understanding draws me to some of these beautiful, simple ones. In some of these paintings, like Van Gogh's or like the Gutmann's pomegranates and saw fed, they're the kind of art that I would probably want to do myself. Just kind of simple things, lots of color and not a lot of intricacies to them. You can just kind of look at them and go, "I get it,
Hmm.
I get it." But that's another one. We could talk about. There's lots of Tel Aviv art. Tel Aviv is the boy.
Oh
It's
yeah,
the
Tel Aviv is
heart.
great. I've seen a lot of wonderful art in Tel Aviv and Joppa neighborhood. Yeah, all throughout.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a couple things you wanna mention there, but there's Tel Aviv art, that you could there's everywhere. It's not necessarily biblically all of it related art, but there is
Right.
some, and then, of course, we could have a long conversation about all the different paintings, frescoes, mosaics in churches throughout the land. We've already mentioned some of the modern art there in the Church of Magdala, but there's paintings inside the Church of the Holy Sepulchre and everywhere. You could get lost in the topic. It's a little hard. It's a tough topic to talk about for a podcast because we can't show you pictures easily.
Yeah, right.
But you can find these things online, and they're absolutely uh, just to me. Some of them are just absolutely beautiful, and they draw me in. But what can you add? That's pretty much what I guess all I've got time for. But
I guess you mentioned
you
Tel
can kind of
Aviv, so I'll just close it out with
okay.
another kind of modern piece that I appreciate, kind of like the Magdala Church. But um, I've stayed at a hotel a few times, the Gilgal Hotel. That's
Okay.
just a block off the Mediterranean shore in Tel Aviv, and the outside wall of windows on it. They've turned it into a mini waterfall because they just have kind of water flowing down the glass somehow.
Hmm.
But outside of it, along the street side, there is a statue that I think is supposed to represent the father receiving back his wayward prodigal son,
Oh.
and he's holding his son in his arms, and he is just weeping, of course, tears of joy. And the hotel is owned by a Christian man, and so inside they have also wall murals and other art pieces. They have a little library in the hotel lobby, a lot of Christian books, and they sell some stuff there too. And so there's just a lot of little pieces of art there and murals in the hotel. But I just love that statue outside the
Mm.
Hotel Gilgal, of the father receiving his prodigal son and just overwhelmed by the joy it is that his son has returned home. And of course, the greater meaning for us in that parable that Jesus tells there is how the father rejoices when we turn to him
Mhm.
in faith in
Amen.
Christ.
Well, it's time now to return to our trivia question from earlier, so I'll just jump right in. And it's so hard for you. You don't really have a lot of time to think about the answers to these, Adams. Our listeners can even stop and kind of pause and think, let me turn off the podcast for a second
Yeah.
and research it or think it through. But you're kind of stuck. You're live here, and you got to go with it. But what street? Began our question. What street, only a 10-minute walk from the old city of Jerusalem, is named for a British novelist whose last novel championed the hope of a Jewish state? Is it Charles Dickens, George Eliot, Thomas Hardy, or Henry James? Do you know?
Um, I don't know this one, so if I get it right, it's only a guess.
Okay.
Do I get a hint of what direction the 10-minute walk is from the old city?
Yeah, you can get it. It would be west of the northwestern corner of the old city.
Okay. Yeah, that doesn't help me at all.
Due west. Due west. Not a direction you go often.
No. I'm just gonna guess. For some reason, the names are sticking out to me, Hardy and James. So I'm gonna eliminate Eliot, and Dickens. Although I love Dickens' works, I'm just gonna go with James.
Okay, well, you eliminated the wrong two right off the
Oh, of
bat.
course,
It's not Hardy or James, so you want to take a guess at the
it's
other
Eliot,
two?
isn't it?
It is. It's George Eliot.
Okay,
Do you know
yes.
much about George Eliot's writings and such, or are you more of a Dickens guy?
I'm more of a Dickens guy, so I don't know. I know the
Yeah,
name. All these names are familiar to me, but
yeah.
yeah, no, I
George
don't.
Eliot, well, it's pen name, and it's actually a female. George Eliot's a female, and she wrote a novel called Daniel Deronda.
Okay.
Trust me, that was not a novel or a name I'd really heard until recently when I kind of ran across it. But Daniel Deronda, and it's about a young man who who eventually traveled to Israel back in the late 1800s to try to help champion the hope of a return of the Jews to Israel. It was
Mm.
very controversial at the time.
I'm sure.
And it didn't sit well with a lot of people. And many of the Jews themselves even were kind of like, what are you talking about? Our home is here. We live here. We're not moving. But there were some who were beginning sort of the germination of that thought was beginning in Europe, particularly Eastern Europe at that time. And George Eliot had met a fascinating linguist, and his name is not Daniel Deronda. That's the book's name, but she'd met a man that had spoken a lot about his hope. I won't go into the details, but a lot about his hope for a future state. And then she eventually produced the novel Daniel Deronda
Mm.
to try to get folks excited about the possibility of a Jewish state. Fascinating, interesting. I didn't know anything about that, but there it is.
Very good.
Well, I'm very relieved to hear the news coming out of Israel regarding the return of some of the hostages.
Mm.
I know you and our listeners have been paying attention to that, I would think, and I can't imagine what they must have experienced over the last year and more. And I'm hopeful that soon all the hostages will be home with their families. But if you didn't know already about them, please consider um, keeping an eye on the news and praying for these individuals, even the ones that do come home. They're going to need our prayers, as the readjustment's going to be very difficult. And then pray for our ministry as well. As it's my hope to take a trip to Israel here in the second half of May of this year. Things seem to be settling down some, and I tried to go in November, and the airlines, as you may recall, canceled my flight. So we're going to try again for May. Um, I've got we've just started, so I just have a core group of about 3 people so far. But if you are interested in participating in that, you can contact us here at Shalom Y'all Ministries. Just send us an email at shalomyallministries@gmail.com. So it's SHALOMYALLMINISTRIES at gmail.com, and we'll get you started on that. The pricing for that right now is I think I've set it at $29.50 plus your ticket, so it's very affordable. And of course, the price will depend. I can even bring the price down if there's a good number of folks go. So I try to adjust the trip to the specific people. I don't just try to do it like a corporation. And so we can even bring the cost down sometimes. But that's May 19th through 30th of this summer. So if you'd like to go, let me know. We can send you a brochure. Just contact us through that email address. Adam?
Well, we hope that you've enjoyed this episode on the art and architecture of Israel. Now, be sure to take the time to slow down and appreciate the beauty of the art that might be around you wherever you are, especially, of course, that which brings glory to the Lord. And we hope that that art appreciation experience could be had together in Israel someday. Shalom, y'all.
Shalom, y'all.